Jesus, the most inconvenient timing of all time. But you failed, Ben. No diarrhea is going to stop me to read this unholy document. Good day, everyone. Hope you're doing well. We're gonna have a big one here. Oh yeah, partner, this is going to be the big one. Project 2025. I'll tell you some things before we start. This document is extremely long. It has 900 pages. Probably a little bit less if you count out all the thank yous. We endorse this shit. We endorse this guy for helping us make this document and shit like that. However, yeah, it's 900 pages. I'm gonna make chapters when I'm going to be making a video about this. I'll probably do it in single video, maybe 2 parts, however, it doesn't matter. I could do and split it to chapters, maybe I'll do that, who knows. I'm gonna take probably some pauses between the reading of these chapters that are going to be in this unholy piece of work. However, even me myself, I have no clue. I have no clue how I'm gonna handle it. I have about 10 hours to read this. Afterwards, I'm gonna have to go to sleep. Maybe not, maybe I'll keep going. However, I'm gonna have to lower my voice quite significantly. So, this document has been on the radar for quite a bit now. People been telling me stuff, what it is about and what it is not about. I have no clue what's true and what's wrong. So I'm gonna read it myself. This is not going to be a pleasant journey at all. This is going to be extremely boring, extremely dull, and I do not expect to see anyone here throughout the entire time I'm going to be reading this. Maybe somebody will click on this because he or she is going to be interesting. However, this thing is so long that it will bore any kind of zoomer or even millennial, boomer. It will bore everybody besides politicians. Alright, I think we can go straight into it right now. I'm gonna read the chapters and afterwards, if I have something to say about it, then I'm gonna do so. We're gonna then do some review of that chapter probably if I do not forget about it, just in short, just what it was about and what I think are the flaws and what I think are the dangers and the positives and all that good stuff. So, without further ado, let's head straight into this piece. Project 2025 Presidential Transition Project. Made in copyright 2023 by the Heritage Foundation. That has been hacked by furious hackers, by the way. I'm looking at this document on the archive.org site. I'm not going to be going to the Heritage Foundation or whatever was that site for obvious reasons. Mandate for readership, the conservative promise. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Contents, acknowledgements, we do not care about this, we care about sections, so let's head straight into the section 1. And right away we've got about almost 20 pages, so we're starting strong. Let's see the sections before we start reading. We got section 1, taking the reins of government. Section 2, the common defense. Section 3, the general welfare. Section 4, the economy. And Section 5, the independent regulatory agencies. And then we got onward. Probably gonna have to read it as well. So let's head straight into this. We start at page 19, so let's head over right away. This is quite unintuitive, but we're gonna get to... There we go. Just a little bit of spamming, and now it's not going to load. Fantastic. Okay. Come on, don't do this to me. Like, they seriously don't want you to read this if this... Oh, finally. Yeah, okay, they are telling you who everyone is here. Oh yeah, all those presidents, CEOs, all those privileged people that definitely have your best interests in mind. No, they do not. All they want to do is exploit you. Oh, we actually even... Oh, we are already above the 22 pages. I don't mind at all. Oh, and this is quite slow. That's because we are skipping quite a bit, and... So let's see, that is still all the people that has been working on it. Should I look for Ben Shapiro? Maybe, maybe not. Oh my god, it still keeps going up. What the hell? 30 pages of fucking contributors. Like, what the heck is this? Okay, let's just bite our way through this. It's white. Oh, there we go. A forward. A promise to America. Kevin D. Roberts, PhD. We are on page 33, so we only have like 800 pages left. 44 years ago, the United States and the conservative movement were in dire straits. Both have been betrayed by the Washington establishment and were uncertain to whom to trust. Both were internally splintered and strategically adrift. Worse still, at that moment of acute vulnerability and division, we found ourselves besieged by existential adversaries, foreign and domestic. The late 1970s were by any measure a historic low point for America and the political coalition dedicated to preserving its unique legacy of human flourishing and freedom. Today, America and the conservative movement are enduring an era of division and danger akin to the late 1970s. Now, as then, our political class has been discredited by wholesale dishonesty. Okay, somebody sent me a message. And corruption. Look at America under the ruling and cultural elite today. Inflation is ravaging family budgets, drug overdose deaths continue to escalate, and children to suffer the toxic normalization of transgenderism with drag queens and pornography invading their school and libraries. Okay, I promise I would not be commenting, however, I have to comment this. That's quite a radical shift. Like, first we are talking about late 1970s, how something betrayed you. You're not being specific, no, Washington betrayed you. Okay, that's not fair enough. Which Washington? You know there are at least 2 Washingtons in the USA. Maybe more by the maybe more cities are by the name, but whatever. That's besides the point. But the point is, you start talking about being betrayed, and now you go to the present day and start blasting the transgender people and their queens. Okay, so basically, something bad was happening in 1970s, and then nothing bad was happening the time between, and suddenly a big danger erupted in 2020s and late 2010s. Okay. Quite interesting story, partner. Okay, I'm gonna have to do this, otherwise I'll just where is okay, I cannot even find the transgender. Oh, here. In their school libraries, bullshit probably. Overseas, a totalitarian communist dictatorship in Beijing is engaged in a strategic, cultural, and economic cold war against America's interests, values, and people, all while globalist elites in Washington awaken only slowly to that growing threat. Moreover, low-income communities are drowning in addiction and government dependence. Contemporary elites have been even repurpose the worst ingredients of the 1970s radical chic to build the totalitarian code known today as the Great Awakening, and now, as then, the Republican Party seems to have greater understanding about what to do. Most alarming of all, the very moral foundation of our society are in peril. Yet the students of history will note that, notwithstanding all those challenges, the late 1970s proved to be a moment when the political right united itself in the country and led the United States to historic political, economic, and global victories. Oh yeah. Huh. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna comment because this is way too long. This is so many fucking words. So let's see. Cold War against America's interests. That is already inaccurate. China's main interest is to first off reunite with Beijing, second being the dominant force in the Southeast Asia, and then try to expand into the Western Asia and India. They do not care about the America because they don't like it would be pain in the ass. They know like they could never possibly invade America. So this is already wrong. They only saw it as that growing dead. They have been at that trade war slash, yeah, and I don't know, deteriorating of the relationship for about almost 10 years at this point. So you can say when Trump took over the office and eventually started to impose tariffs on China was the moment the trade war started, and that has almost been 10 years at this point. So I mean, people already know about the threat of China. Again, like they're talking about the 1970s, like what happened in 1970s, Watergate, that was Republican. Jimmy Carter was president. Don't know much about him. Then I believe it was Reagan. Reagan at the end of the 1970s. That's probably that unity they are talking about. And about Reagan, I know that he had a lot of megalomaniac projects in his mind, which would have bankrupted the United States many times over. Like escalating the Cold War with the Soviet Union, by investing far more into the army, into the war department. Fortunately, the Soviet Union got their new, I don't want to say chancellor, but leader, Gorbachev, who went for the escalation that might have saved America a lot of money, otherwise they would probably be also in a bit of a debt economic shape, which they are already now, but hey, they will probably blame this on globalists as well. United itself, I think they might be talking about the Great Split or whatever what that was when the South became North and the North became South. I know it doesn't make any sense, but basically the political parties switched their voters. The Heritage Foundation is proud to have played a small but pivotal role in that story. It was in early 1979, amid stagflation, gas lines, and the Red Army's invasion of Afghanistan, the nadir of Jimmy Carter's days of malaise, that Heritage launched the mandate for leadership project. We brought together hundreds of conservative scholars and academics across the conservative movement. Together, this team created a 20-volume, 3,000-page governing handbook containing more than 2,000 conservative policies to reform the federal government and rescue the American people from Washington dysfunction. It was a promise from the conservative movement to the country, confident, specific, and clear. Oh yeah, they created a governing handbook, something like they care about, who was it, Klaus Schwab making? Does this sound, democratic to you, to make governing handbooks? Oh yeah, you have to do these things. Yeah, these things that were imposed by the God upon you. I know I'm very skeptic towards it. However, I know this side, this project, this group of people is influenced by religion, and I have a big allergy towards religion when it mixes with politics, a very big allergy. Politics and religion should never mix together, therefore I'm definitely not going to be giving them any free breathing space. Mandate for Leadership was published in January 1989. The same month, Ronald Reagan was sworn into his presidency. By the end of that year, more than 60% of his recommendations had become a policy, and Reagan was on his way to ending stagflation, reviving American confidence and prosperity, and winning the Cold War. They did not win the Cold War. Gorbachev simply went for the escalation and giving the Soviet people an opportunity to choose their own path. They are trying to paint this as American victory. No, America did not win. Simply the Soviet leadership or Gorbachev was tired of this Cold War and ended it himself. So that's already a lie. The bad news today is that our political establishment and cultural elite have once again driven America towards decline. The good news is that we know the way out, even though the challenges today are not what they were in 1970s. Conservatives should be confident that we can rescue our kids, reclaim our culture, revive our economy, and defeat the anti-American left at home and abroad. We did it before and will do it again. As Ronald Reagan put it, freedom is a fragile thing and it's never more than one generation away from extinction. It is not ours by way of inheritance, it must be fought for and defended constantly by each generation. This is the duty history has put before us and the standard by which our generation of conservatives will be judged. And we should not want it any other way. The legacy of mandate for leadership and indeed of the entire Reagan revolution is that if conservatives want to save the country, we need a bold and courageous plan. This book is the first step in that plan. And they will likely bankrupt your country. Just saying. This this little piece of work with 900 pages. I think you can imagine just how expensive it would be to even implement. And this is they are planning to completely overtook the government. Because I mean that's the only way for you to implement all those changes. Yeah. They live in a naive world where they will have money for it. They won't. They will push America even further into the debt, which already is 35 trillion if you did not know. Higher than the American GDP, by the way. But yeah, nobody gives a shit about that in America. People don't care. As long as the stocks are up, as long as the AI hype is still going, nobody will panic, everybody will be happy until they won't, and until everyone will go poor, and how would they say it? Broke, or they would be brokies. The Conservative Premise. This volume, The Conservative Premise, is the opening salvo of the 2025 Presidential Transition Project, launched by the Heritage Foundation and our many partners in April 2022. Its 30 chapters lay out hundreds of clear and concrete policy recommendations for White House offices, cabinet departments, Congress, and agencies, commissions, and boards. And we have not even got to these recommendations, and now we have already been very critical of this thingy. Just as important as the scope of the Conservative Premises recommendation is the breadth of its authorship. This book is the product of more than 400 scholars and policy experts from across the conservative movement and around the country. The contributors include former elected officials, world-renowned economists, and veterans from 4 presidential administrations. This is an agenda prepared by and for conservatives who will be ready on day one of the next administration to save our country from the brink of disaster. 400 scholars, that will already mean this book is going to contradict itself quite a bit. But hey, let's not be too hasty. We're gonna have big fun reading all these recommendations. The Heritage Foundation is once again facilitating this work, but as our dozens of partners and hundreds of authors will attest, this book is the work of the entire conservative movement, and as such, the authors express consensus recommendations already forged especially along 4 bills that will decide America's future. Indeed. So, yeah, some book is going to tell politicians what to do. So the politicians that will candidate for your districts, for your states, you will not elect them for their own personal beliefs and for what they want. No. You will elect a spineless, zombie-like politicians that will 100% follow this book, this whole book. Definitely doesn't sound like Klaus Schwab fantasy, don't you think? Yeah, that Klaus Schwab the right has been so much crying about. So, 4 birds from that will decide America's future, restore the family as the centerpiece of American life and protect our children, which will probably result in the government to mandate your women to have children, to force them to have children, at least a certain amount of children. So let's see. The Republicans, the conservatives, are talking about the population decline, which is a issue. However, as they are quite a bit influenced by the religion, I think they're gonna solve it by force, by order, and they will force women to have children, something I despise gravely. It is women's choice to have children, it is women's choice to never have children. Period. If they don't want to have children, well, we have to solve the lack of reproduction rates elsewhere, or somehow different. Oh, we can always try to move our progress on cloning. I mean, hey, it worked in Star Wars, and Ronald Reagan wanted Star Wars, so it will surely work. Dismantle the administrative state and return self-governance to the American people. That's fake. That is complete and utter bullshit of a lie. And I'm gonna say one single example that you need to know, and you never, ever have to forget. Abortions, indeed. Return self-governments to the American people. Meanwhile, they ban abortions completely. They do not regulate them. They don't say, all right, you have 15 weeks to decide if you want that child or not. No. They say, all right, have you been knocked up? Have you been avoided by somebody? We don't care. You're gonna have the children. Does this look like a self-government to you, guys? Defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats. We are probably gonna read more about that. Secure our God-given, here we go, God-given individual rights to live freely to what our Constitution calls the blessings of liberty. Yeah, sure, because we cannot modernize the meaning of those words that have been passed in the 18th century, because definitely nothing has changed since that times. Live freely. Living free would mean that there would be no work, that people would somehow live of its own, basically a anarchist society, which is a bullshit concept to begin with. So living freely is a stupid little argument. You don't live freely. You work, and you work even more to have money. Because you need money for everything. You need money for water, for food, for house, or flats, or apartment. You need money for everything. If you don't have money, then you're nothing. Then you are impoverished. What makes these four pieces of the conservative promise so valuable to the next president is that they cut to superficial distractions and focus on the moral and foundational challenges America faces in this moment of history. This was one of the secrets of conservative success in the Reagan era, one of our generation should emulate. Really, if this was such a success in a Reagan era, then it should have continued afterwards. What happened afterwards? You got George H.W. Bush, and afterwards he was to Bill Clinton, I believe. We should emulate Reagan era. Alright, so we're gonna go into the Cold War with the Chinese. We're gonna have tens of planes constantly flying above our heads, wielding nuclear weapons that can at any time malfunction and can drop on our civilian populations, like they have done before, by the way. Yeah, we're gonna live in the age of paranoia. Brilliant. As in the late 1970s, Americans today experience the failures of political and cultural elites in countless ways: in the job market, in the grocery store checkout, on the streets, and in our schools, in the media, and within our institutions. But in the truth, these daily dysfunctions are not innumerable problems, but innumerable manifestations of a few core crises. In the 1979, the threats we faced were the Soviet Union, the socialism of the 1970s rebels. What? No, seriously, what? I would like to see if they have some research about it, some actual empirical data about it, or if they're just saying the things out of their ass and not sourcing them. Like, come on, bro, source. Rebels and the predatory deviancy of culture elites, Reagan defeated these beasts by ignoring their tentacles and striking instead at their hearts. His approach to the Cold War, we win and they lose. Yes, great, great, amazing. Yeah, we win, they lose. Oh yeah, and in the meantime, the entire Europe is going to get completely annihilated in the nuclear war. Hundreds of millions of people will die, but no, we're gonna win. We win. We win, yeah. About 80% of the world population will be gone, but we win. Yeah, we win. Fucking lunatics. His economic agenda, the human dignity of work and its many rewards, the exploitation of the human workers. Capitalism exploits you. Capitalism is not the best economic regime we can have. Or if not, most of these billionaires nowadays, where do you think they come from? First off, they own a lot of stocks they create for their companies, but their company is built upon work of others. Their company is built upon work of the workers, the scientists. They would be nowhere without those people. Those are the people that carry them. Those are the people who allow them to be rich. Take them away and they cannot do anything by themselves. Well, not at least until the AI becomes strong enough to actually be able to work many jobs at once, but that's still a little bit away. His platform in the culture wars. Oh, there were culture wars in the 80s. That's the first time I hear about this. The community of values embodied in these words: family, work, neighborhood, peace, and freedom. Freedom. Yeah. Freedom. That's such a beautiful word. Freedom. What about freedom of the transgenders? What about the freedom of the gays, lesbians, bisexuals? Yeah. Freedom only for the certain people. That's capitalism. Only certain people, only the chosen ones are free. The rest of you will work throughout their entire lives. And you know what they will say? They said they have big respect for, they appreciate you so much. They will make photo shoots with you. Okay. And how does that change your economical situation? How does that change that you are a worker that will keep working for the rest of his life, but will never have a mansion as big as some Hollywood stars, as some of these big tech leaders? No, you won't even have your own boat. You might as well become Michael DeSanta and start robbing banks. You're gonna have a better chance to actually making it than by working hard. That's not an advice. That's not a financial advice, nor this is an advice of any sorts for the legal reasons. This book and Project 2025 as a whole will arm the next conservative president with the same kind of strategic clarity, but for a new age. And finally, we made it to Promise 1, and I've been ranting quite a bit about even the initial stuff, so we're not gonna be making this, we're not gonna finish this in one go, I'm already telling you. I'm gonna read this on numerous streams and we're gonna cover the entirety of it. I will cover every single piece of it, and when we do, I'm gonna edit this down, and publish it on the YouTube channel almost all advanced. I'm gonna publish it at some certain rate, so YouTube actually promotes it. So, let us continue. Mandate for leadership, the conservative promise. Promise number 1, restore the family as the centerpiece of American life and protect our children. The next conservative president must get to work pursuing the true priority of politics, the well-being of the American family. In many ways, the entire point of centralizing political power is to subvert the family. No, it is not. Its purpose is to replace people's natural loves and loyalties with unnatural ones. You see this in the popular left-wing aphorism. Government is simply the name we give to the things we choose to do together, but in the real life, most of the things people do together have nothing to do with the government. These are the mediating institutions that serve as the building blocks of any healthy society. Any healthy society would be able to do without the government. Any healthy society would not do crimes, would not murder each other, would not rob each other. No, this is the dysfunction the human race still has. This is a dysfunction that the human race has to overcome, or we will never make it. We will never become an intergalactic species. We have to learn to get rid of these sins, these negative feelings once and for all, and we have to work together for the human supremacy. Yes, I am an space imperialist. I do not exert imperialism upon my own people, but I will exert imperialism against other people in space. Marriage, family, work, school, volunteering, the name real people give to the things we do together is community, not government. Our lives are full of interwoven, overlapping communities, and our individual and collective happiness depends upon them. But the most important community in each of our lives and the life of the nation is the family. Today, the American family is in crisis. 40% of all children are born to unmarried mothers, including more than 70% of black children. There is no government program that can replace the hole in a child's soul cut out by the absence of father. I grew without my father, whom died when I was 1 year old in a car accident. And if I must say so, I turned out pretty goddamn well. I have inserted all the good values into myself. I help people, I respect other people. However, I cannot respect people who insert religion into the politics. So that's also why I'm so critical about this hit piece. Religion does not belong in politics. It's a Trojan horse that will ruin any society. Let's see. Fatherlessness is one of the principal sources of American poverty, crime, mental illness, teen suicide, substance abuse, rejection of the church. Oh, here we go. So about this, what they're saying is principal source of the poverty, crime, mental illness, teen suicide. I'm like, what? Like, I'm literally like, what? What the hell are you talking about, mate? Here, rejection of the church. And why is this bad? Like, they already revealed the agenda right here. The rejection of church is bad. No, the rejection of church is completely normal. If you do not feel like following a teachings of a person, of a historical person, then it's your choice. Like, we should not be forcing people to serve in the to follow religion. Like, this is madness. This is fucking madness right here. Rejection of the church. And these people dare to speak out against Islam. Yet they do want to incorporate you. They want to force you to be Christian as well. Yeah, do not ever fucking talk about Islam as the bad guys when you want to force people into becoming Christians. The rejection of churches. Fatherlessness is the cause of rejection of church, or the rejection of church is caused by fatherlessness. Madness. Absolute and utter madness. And high school dropouts. No. Simple no. High school dropouts. That's parenting. I mean, hey, that depends upon the mother, how she raises you. If she doesn't give a shit about you, then obviously you're gonna turn into bad apple. However, that's on the parents. Like, if you think the father can change it, yes, he might change it. Also, he may change it for the worse. Like, this is basically nothing. This is complete nonsense they are putting here. One of the principal sources of rejection of the church and high school dropouts. Like, no, some people drop out of the school because they simply cannot. They don't have on it. They simply are not capable of handling school. So they just go work and become workers. Use so much praise that the people, the hard-working people, yes, they don't. They simply think they no longer can withstand the school, so they go working. Of course, they will spin the narrative and say the public schools are woke. However, many people simply do not enjoy studying, so they go work. Or they join the military and maybe have some progress in their personal life. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they are not a good soldier, so they do not become a officer and they will be back on eventually, and maybe as a veteran, and worse, and maybe even worse, as a veteran with a condition. So many of the problems government programs are designed to solve but can are ultimately problems created by the crisis of the marriage and the family. The world has never seen a thriving, healthy, and prosperous society where most children grow up without their married parents. The Roman Empire. There you go. I assume marriage wasn't a thing much back in the Rome, and people there grew up quite well. However, the right wingers do not understand that they see Rome as something else. Like, Rome was very inclusive. Rome was much more inclusive than these morons think. You were gay in Rome? Alright, we do not care. You have kings? Alright, we do not care. Up until the Christians started to become more and more prominent in the Roman Empire, then it went to shit. If the current trends continue, we are heading towards social implosion. No, you're not. You're just fearmongering. Furthermore, the next conservative president must understand that using government alone to respond to symptoms of the family crisis is a dead end. Federal power must instead be wielded to reverse the crisis and rescue America's kids from familial breakdown. So what are you going to do? The conservative promise includes dozens of specific policies to accomplish this existential task. What are they gonna do if the father either left the child or he perished or if he died? Like, what you gonna do? You're gonna take the kid away from the mother? This is your idea? This is your vision? Some are obvious and long-standing goals, like eliminating marriage penalties in federal welfare programs, and the tax code and installing work requirements for food stamps. But we must go further. It's time for policymakers to elevate family authority, formation, and cohesion as their top priority, and even use government power, including the tax code, to restore the American family. Today, the left is threatening the tax-exempt status of churches and charities that reject woke progressivism. Oh, so the Democrats want to tax the church. This seems like a very good idea to me. Why should be church tax exempt? Somebody explain it to me in a big detail. Very, very big detail. Why should there be privileges for the religion? I don't quite understand. They will soon turn to Christian schools and clubs with the same totalitarian intent. Look at them, they are so hurt here. They're just so hurt. Oh, you have to pay tax. Oh no, that is so totalitarian. That is so authoritarian. So dictatorship-like. Woke left. No, this is normal. This is fucking common sense. Like, why should the church be exempt from taxes? Even in my country, the church is taxed. Well, that's because also my country is quite atheist, however. We tax the church, and the church also was screaming here, however, they don't have the population, they don't have people who actually care from the common population, so they simply were taxed. And they did not bring up that issue anymore. But this is unironically stupid. This is dumb. This is extremely dumb argument to make. Like, if you just look at this, read this. Tax exempt status. Like, if you think this is unjust, then you might be more socialist than you might think. Or maybe anarchists. Yeah, anarchist is probably a better word because anarchism is no taxes, if I remember correctly. The next conservative president must make the institution of American civil society hard targets for woke culture warriors. This starts with deleting the terms sexual orientation and gender identity, of course, diversity. Alright, so they want to delete the term diversity. Alright, so are you gonna deport all the African Americans, all the Asians that immigrated to our country, all the Latinos, basically everyone that does not agree with this? Equity, I believe, is that everyone starts from the same line, which would not sound so... which would sound pretty good. Unfortunately, it is implemented in some cases where it should not be implemented. That's all I'm gonna say about this. I'm not gonna go into more detail. We have this to focus about. And inclusion. Oh, I see. So the DEI thing, I see. Okay, so they want to... the terms, I see. So those are some like organization / terms. I know the DI. Yes, I know this from gaming. In gaming, it's very stupid. It is unironically stupid. Gaming should not be about DEI. It should be about good stories. And I believe anyone, and by anyone I mean truly anyone, can make a fantastic story and can make a fantastic game if you have enough enthusiasm. You can make a fantastic game. There's no need for this. Gender equality, gender equity, gender awareness, gender sensitive, so they want to delete the term abortion. That is already... I'm definitely getting quite a bit more... I'm getting quite a bit angry here. They want to delete the term abortion. Yeah, definitely democratic, don't you think, guys? Don't you think, deleting terms... Yeah, definitely very democratic, don't you think? Reproductive health. What's wrong about reproductive health? Reproductive rights? Like, explain to me, like, what is wrong about these two terms? Like, unironically, I do not know. I'm not capping or anything. I'm not joking right now. I do not know, like, anything. Like, why should these two terms be wrong? Why should these three terms should be wrong, for God's sake? Like, this is unironically Christian radicalism. This is Christian radicalism in its finest. And they have the nerves to trash talk the Muslims. You have no rights to trash talk anyone. You goddamn radicals. And any other term used to deprive Americans of their First Amendment rights. Or out of every federal rule. Agency regulation, contract, grant regulation, and piece of legislation that exist. We are going into pornography now. Okay, what are they gonna tell us about porno? Pornography manifested today in the omnipresent propagation of transgender ideology and sexualization of children. For instance, it is not a political Gordian knot inextricably binding up disparate claims about free speech, property rights, sexual liberation, and child welfare. It has no claims to First Amendment protection. Its purveyors are child predators and misogynistic exploiters of women. Sometimes I think you fit more into that other part, into the exploiters of women. Their product is as addictive as any illicit drug and psychologically destructive as any crime. No, it is not. Pornography should be outlawed, and here we go. Yeah, outlaw the adult industry. Yeah, just like the Romans did that before. Yeah, it did not go much well for them either. Okay, small talk. Porno or porn is not good for you. In big instances, in big doses, it's not good for you. Sure, if you watch like one video, I don't know, per like one video in like 2 days or 3 days or a week, like it's fine. Like obviously, if you feel stressed, like obviously you should try to relieve yourself. There are many ways to relieve yourself, and if you find this way to be the most effective, then hey, that is up to you. I will agree that there are people who use the sexual liberation quite explicitly and quite disgustingly, in my opinion. I think that they are breaking my red lines, and that is something that should be regulated. Otherwise, this is quite... No, I cannot agree with this at all. Outlaw, like, ban porn, like, no. Oh, yeah, you think anything is going to change? Okay, so what is going to happen when somebody is going to snitch? So you're gonna just throw these people into prison for degeneracy, am I right? Yeah, in the prisons that are already overcrowded. Brilliant idea. The American population in prison will more than double. I'm telling you right now, if they actually would implement this. People will still keep watching porn. In our schools, the questions of parental authority over their children's education is a simple one. Schools serve parents, not the other way around. That is, of course, the best argument for universal school choice, a goal all conservatives and conservative presidents must pursue. But even before we achieve that long-term goal, parents' rights as their children's primary educators should be non-negotiable in American schools, states, cities, and counties. School boards, union bosses, principals, and teachers who disagree should be immediately cut off from federal funds. Okay, so they are using the same card they cry about Democrats using. I heard only allegedly that the Democrats are withholding funds from certain schools. I don't know what is correct, what is true about this. You would have to correct me on that one. However, so they basically say, alright, you do something we do not like, then you're not gonna get any money. Brilliant. This is a forceful re-education. This is something that they've been crying about. They've been crying about Klaus Schwab trying to re-educate you into the globalism, into the woke ideology. And yet, look at this. They are doing the exactly same thing that they've been crying about. There's no difference between the left or the right. Oh, there's, difference obvious. I meant it in a different way than you what? The noxious tenets of critical race theory and gender ideology should be excised from curricula. In every school in the country, these theories poison our children who are being taught on the one hand to affirm that the color of their skin fundamentally determines their identity and even their moral status, while on the other, they are taught to deny the very creatureness that inheres in being human and consists in accepting and givenness of our nature as men and women. Allowing parents or physicians to reassign the sex of a minor is a child abuse and must end. For public institutions to use taxpayer money to declare superiority or inferiority of certain races, nobody does that, only you. And religions is a violation of the Constitution and civil rights laws and cannot be tolerated by any government anywhere in the country. Yes, if a USA politician would bring Quran into the Congress or Senate and was praying to it, then these people would have an absolute meltdown. Yeah, one like congresswoman that would unironically represent the overall population of Muslims in your country. Yeah. Praise to the Quran. Oh no, that's big bad, very big bad. Whilst you are praying to your Bibles. Oh, that's completely normal. Clowns. Superiority of or inferiority of certain races. Bullshit. There is only one race in this world, and it is human race. If you think otherwise, you're a goddamn primitive monkey. There is one race, and this stupidity in fighting about skin pigment colors is dumb, and it should have been solved many years ago. However, it still prevails. There is one race, and if anyone would dare to think otherwise, well, then he should be forcefully educated. I know I'm saying forcefully. Yeah, because as a species, we have to be united. We have to be united and loyal to the human race. If anyone is trying to build some sort of a social barrier, some sort of a social wall, we cannot allow it. We as a humanity have to respect each other. We have to work together. Does not matter what nationality we are, what ethnicity we are, no matter what religion we are. We have to work for the common goal of empowering the human race and to become the superior force in the universe. Period. But the Pale family premises expressed in this book and centered to the next conservative president's agenda must go much further than the traditional narrow definition of family issues. Every threat to family stability must be confronted. This resolve should color each of our policies, consider our approach to the big tech. The voice of these companies prey on children like drug dealers to get them addicted to the mobile apps. Many Silicon Valley executives famously don't let their own kids have smartphones. They nevertheless make billions of dollars addicting other people's children to theirs. I think this is more of a parenting issue than Why can Jeff Bezos forbid his child from not using a phone and a regular parent cannot? Why can a regular parent tell their child, alright, you're not getting phone unless you're like 15 or 18? Tell me. No, tell me. Go ahead, tell me. Like, do you have to have $10 billion for it? Or any other magical ability? Like, this seems like something that anyone can do. Oh yeah, those children do not listen to you. Well, as I said, poor parenthood. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms are specifically designed to create the digital dependencies that fuel mental illness and anxiety to fray children's bonds with their parents and siblings. The federal policy cannot allow this industrial-scale child abuse to continue. Finally, the conservatives should gratefully celebrate the greatest Bill family win in a generation, overturning Roe v. Wade. That was one of the greatest disasters. A decision that for 5 decades made a mockery of our constitution. No, for 5 decades it kept your radical Christianity off fucking politics. Now those people who are fucking radical Christians have banned women from having abortions completely. They do not simply ban them from having abortion in like 40th or 30th week of their pregnancy. No, they completely banned it of our constitution and facilitated deaths of tens of millions of unborn children, but the Dobbs decision is just the beginning. If the conservatives have been so much crying about that it had caused like tens of millions of deaths of children, then how come they don't have the majority? Like, you would expect the conservatives to have a majority. Then if it was only Democrats taking these abortions, then they should already have the utmost majority. They should be the dictatorship party by now. I wonder what is happening that it has never happened. Maybe because these people found a common sense and ran away from that radical Christianity. But the Dobbs decision is just the beginning. Conservatives in the states and in Washington, including the next conservative administration, should push as hard as possible to protect the unborn in every jurisdiction in America. In particular, the next conservative president should work with the Congress to enact the most robust protections for the unborn that Congress will support by deploying the existing federal powers to protect the innocent life and vigorously complying with statutory ban on the federal funding of abortion. Conservatives should ardently pursue these pro-life and pro-family policies while recognizing many women who find themselves in immensely difficult and often tragic situation and the heroism of every choice to become a mother. Unbelievable. Alternative options to abortion, especially adoption, should receive federal and state support. Wait, what? Okay, so you're saying that it killed millions of children. Now you're saying it should receive support. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you already contradict yourself, you fucking idiots. Where is it? There we go. Facilitated tens of millions of unborn children. And then we got alternative options to abortions, especially adoption. I mean, they are pushing the adoption, but should receive federal and state fund. But why should the mother who maybe has a health condition, was avoided, or maybe is an underage mother, why should she carry the child? And I've seen such instances when in countries like Poland, someone like 13 years old girl got pregnant. Yeah, and she had to actually carry that child. Yeah, all the way to its birth. Fucking lunatics. Like, if you cannot see the issue with this, if you cannot see that radicalism, that the religion brings to this fucking paper, like, then there's no hope for you. Religion and politics must never interfere, or you're gonna get this masterpiece, this radical masterpiece. In summary, the next president has a moral responsibility to lead the nation in restoring a culture of life in America again. The culture of life. What does that mean? Like, all people are gonna get a dignitary, houses, they're gonna have a dignified life. No, they're not. There will always be people that are going to have to perform the hard jobs. The people that, bro, as some privileged people call it, the inferior jobs. And the right wing is being that way as well. They say they respect you. No, they don't. They profit off of you. Them saying they respect you is the bare minimum they should be saying. Like, otherwise they don't care about you. They're gonna have their martinis, their expensive luxury Bentleys. Yeah, and you're gonna have jack shit. Yeah, you're gonna have gratefulness from them. Yay! This was a promised one. So already we are off to a great start. There is a lot of radical stuff in them. Mainly influenced by the religion, and unsurprisingly, that is what happens when you let religion influence your politics. This radical shit happens. So I'm gonna take a sip of water, and then we're gonna continue with premise 2. We may finish several premises, at least like 6 premises would be good enough. Then maybe I'm gonna go and start cutting it, because I was actually anticipating that I could probably do it like as a big unedited stream. However, I'm gonna edit it so I sound more coherent. However, as always, I'm gonna keep all of this in my VODs channel, and you'll be able to listen to me, my uncoherent, rambling. Yeah, for transparency, obviously, I want people to see that I actually edit my videos and don't just post them as they are, and that I'm not the most coherent person in the world. However, hey, I'm doing this to actually enhance, to improve my coherent, skills. So yeah, it's a part of a progress that will hopefully come, and hopefully I'll be able to be more coherent, so you can watch me progressing with that quest as well. So I'm gonna take a sip of water, and we'll be going into the premise 2. I went to check the Twitter, check my Twitter account. Somebody liked that post about me reading this, however, only he or she was the only person that saw it, so. So we're gonna read premise 2. Afterwards, we're probably gonna take a pause. How long have we been streaming? For about an hour, so we're gonna take probably a pause after premise 2. I want to keep my throat about as healthy enough for me to keep talking without pausing for like 2 minutes every 2 seconds, and yeah. We're gonna keep going as long as I'm able. Or as long as there's light on the sky. Premise 2. Dismantle the administrative state and return self-governance to the American people. If that was correct, then they would not ban abortions. No, they will not give you self-governance. They want to rule. And you should know that by now. Of course, the surest way to put the federal government back to work for the American people is to reduce its size and scope back to something resembling the original constitutional intent. Conservatives desire a small government, not for its own sake, but for the sake of human flourishing. Wise. But the Washington establishment doesn't want constitutionally limited government because it means they lose power and are held more accountable by the people who put them into power. This sounds something quite left-wing. However, it is not, because this is a lie. This is a blatant lie, they tell you. Like restoring popular sovereignty, the task of reattaching the federal government's constitutional and democratic debtors calls to mind Ronald Reagan's observation that there are no easy answers, but there are simple answers. What? I mean, that's kind of the same thing, no? Like easy, simple, those are synonyms for God's sake. Whatever. In the case of me, it's like saying there are no lemons here, however there are oranges. I mean, yeah, both are kind of similar, however they taste different. And are different, what? Oh, whatever. I mean, I did not have myself here. I'm gonna get this out. Yep. In the case of making the federal government smaller, more effective and accountable, the simple answer is the Constitution itself. Oh, yeah, okay. There are no Chinese oranges, however there are oranges. There you go. Both are oranges, however they are only slightly different. I mean, it's not a rocket science. There you go. You probably still are face bombing and wondering what I'm talking about. Me, myself, I have no idea. Fuck, I got lost in oranges. The surest proof of this is how strenuous and creative generations of progressives and many Republicans consider insiders have worked to cut themselves free from the strictures of the 1789 Constitution and subsequent amendments. Consider the federal budget under the current law. Congress is required to pause a budget and a 12-issue specific spending bill comporting with it every single year. The last time Congress did so was in 1996. Congress no longer meaningfully budgets, authorizes, or categorizes spending. Instead, party leaders negotiate one multi-trillion-dollar spending bill, several thousand pages long, and then vote on it before anyone Richard has had a chance to read it. Debate time is restricted, amendments are prohibited, and all of this is backed up against a midnight deadline when the previous omnibus spending bill will run out and the federal government shuts down. I'm pretty sure the Republicans have, or somebody else was blocking the budget for quite a bit from Biden. So, and it was not like 2 days, it was for several days, maybe even weeks. So one would think they would probably had enough time to actually read it down. If you simply read the book, like you do not read it louder, then you should be able to finish it in like 4 hours or 5 hours if it's like 1000 pages long. That is without break, however you should have break, so realistically like 6.5 hours. This process is not designed to empower 330 million American citizens and their elected representatives, but rather to empower the party elite secretly negotiating without any public scrutiny or oversight. Okay, so just let the public in. I mean, you are one party. You can easily just publish what the spending will be about. I mean, I don't think I saw that anywhere in that previous columns that it was illegal for your party to share with the public. Like the public can make their own opinions, like from what I've heard. So it is just that you are not doing this. And this is already a red flag. Do not trust them. Like they can do this. They can share the budget and what is in that budget. They can share those 1000 pages probably. Not all of them, most likely, because there will be some classified stuff, probably for the military. So obviously that would have to be blacked out. But yeah, in general, I think the general populace could have an access to it. I don't see any problem with that. And besides, empower the party elites, wouldn't that mean that you are also guilty of it? Or you think that people are going to believe you that only Democrats do it, they secretly negotiate, and that now here say empower the party elites. So basically you are confessing that Republicans secretly negotiate with Democrats on a compromises nobody from the people is going to be happy about. Why should they trust you? You just confess to the corruption and now you say people, alright, give us votes, give us your rights, give us everything, trust in us. In the end, the congressional leaders' behavior and incentives here are no different from those of global elites, insinuating policy decisions over the climate trade, public health, you name it, from the sovereignty of national elaborates. Public scrutiny and democratic accountability make life harder for policymakers, so they skirt it. It's not dysfunction, it's corruption, and you participate in it and profit off of it. And despite its gaudy price tag, the federal budget is not even close to the worst example of this corruption. That distinction belongs to the administrative state, the dismantling of which must be a top priority for the next conservative president. The term administrative state refers to policy-making work done by the bureaucracies of all the federal government's departments, agencies, and millions of employees. Under Article 1 of the Constitution, all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives. That is, federal law is enacted only by elected legislatures in both of the houses of Congress. This exclusive authority was part of the famous doctrine of separated powers. They do not only split the federal government's legislative, executive, and judicial powers into different branches, they also gave each branch checks over the others. Under our constitution, the legislative branch, Congress, is far and away from the most powerful, correspondingly most accountable to the people. In recent decades, members of the House and Senate discovered if they give away that power to the Article 2 branch of the government, they can also deny responsibility for its action. So today in Washington, most policy is no longer set by Congress at all, but by the administrative state, given the choice between the being powerful but vulnerable or irrelevant but famous. Most members of Congress have chosen the latter. Definitely not, because it would make all of those Senate meetings, but they would be constantly blabbering about nonsense. if they would simply just share their ideas on this podiums, then like they would move nowhere. It would be, yeah, like the policies would move nowhere at all. They would just keep arguing between each other and nobody would be happy. Congress passes intentional vague laws that delegate decision-making over given issue to federal agency. That agency's bureaucrats are just unelected, but seemingly unfireable, then reaped at the chance to fill the vacuum created by Congress preening cowardice. The federal government is growing larger and less constitutionally accountable, even to the president every year. Do you remember when they said more governance, self-governance to the people? Does this sound like a self-governance to you, guys? From all I've just said, it sounds like they just want Senate to be and the Congress to be more powerful. They want Senate and the Congress, basically all of them, to make laws and everything. They just don't want some administrative people to actually prepare these laws. That's not self-governance. That's just reducing bureaucracy. That's like self-governance to the people. I have not heard anything that would even resemble self-governance to the people. So it's already one big lie. But maybe we're gonna read about it in a second. A combination of elected and unelected bureaucrats at the Environmental Protection Agency quietly strangles domestic energy production throughout difficult to understand rulemaking processes. Bureaucrats at the Department of Homeland Security, following the lead of a feckless administration, order border and immigration enforcement agencies to help migrants criminally enter our country with impunity. I think that's a lie. And if somebody actually helps, then that is a matter of corruption. Bureaucrats at the Department of Education inject racism, anti-American, ahistorical propaganda into American classrooms. Anti-American. I mean, I know they are the Americans. However, theoretically, if we were to nitpick, which they kind of are, then the Americans are the indigenous people who've been pretty much wiped out by the Europeans spreading plagues and then taking their territory and gold. So yeah, fuck you too. Bureaucrats at the Department of Justice force school districts to undermine girls' sports and parents' rights to satisfy transgender extremists. There have been such instances. Most or a good portion of them are backpedaling on it because they seen that these transgender athletes simply outperform female athletes by a lot. Also, there have been instances when the transgender athlete completely flopped, so, I mean, hey. There are some very good transgender athletes and there are some trash, so, hey. And about my own personal opinion about this, just create a third, branch. Male, female, transgender, period. There you go. Problem solved. However, you would need to find funding for that. That could be problematic. Because female sports are also quite, how to say, they don't get as much ad revenue as male sports. For example, sports like basketball, football has been going a little bit better in some countries. A little bit worse in others. It is what it is. Woke bureaucrats at the Pentagon force troops to attend training seminars about white privileges and what? Do they mean and bureaucrats? Maybe. No, that's a capital B. So like what and? The word wonders. Bureaucrats at the State Department infuse US foreign aid programs with woke extremism about intersectionality and abortion. What? What? Foreign aid infuse foreign aid with woke extremism about intersectionality and abortion. Most of that foreign aid is coming to countries like, let's see, Ukraine, African countries, a lot of African countries, mostly to prevent to actually help the help the people there, and to prevent them from actually having nothing, and then to start a large migration towards Europe. So US and United Nations are low-key stopping a massive immigration wave, by the way. Places like Turkey have over 3 million migrants. I wonder how many migrants have the African nations, the African Mediterranean nations, like Egypt, Morocco. Well, Morocco is technically not Mediterranean. So Algeria, Libya, Tunisia. Now I'm actually thinking if Algeria is like one big country or if there's another one next to her. Basically, I'm thinking if Algeria is bordering both Tunisia and Morocco, or if there is country between them. I can't quite remember. It is what it is. I don't care. An abortion. Somehow, I do not think abortion is available in those poor African countries. Or poor. I don't know. I don't know if you pronounce it poor or poor. I use sometimes both. So. Unaccountable federal spending is the secret lifeblood of the Great Awakening. Funny enough that the president with the highest deficit was Donald Trump. That is in the last, like, what was it, 12 years in the current century. Nearly every power center held by the left is funded or supported one way or another throughout the bureaucracy by Congress. Colleges and school districts are funded by tax dollars. Administrative state holds 100% of its power at the sufferance of the Congress, and its insulation from presidential discipline is an unconstitutional fairy tale spun by the Washington establishment to protect its turf. Members of Congress shield themselves from constitutional accountability, often when the White House allows it to get away with it. Cultural institutions like public libraries and public health agencies are only as independent from public accountability as elected officials and voters permit. Let's be clear. The most egregious regulations promulgated by the current administration come from one place, the Oval Office. The president cannot hide behind the agencies, and his many executive orders make clear that his responsibility for the regulation that threaten American communities, schools, and families. A conservative president must move swiftly to do away these vast abuses of presidential power and remove the career on political bureaucrats who fuel it. Funny enough, Donald Trump also used quite a bit of executive powers. Biden, I'm not sure how much executive orders Biden signed. I don't follow the US politics that closely. Ura. So did you notice something? They still have not tell us anything about that self-governance of people. So far, they have been only talking about Congress and Senate. Mostly Congress, though. Properly considered, restoring fiscal limits and constitutional accountability to the federal government is a continuation of restoring national sovereignty to the American people. In foreign affairs, global strategy, federal budgeting, and policy making, the same pattern emerges again and again. The ruling elite slash-enter at restrictions and accountability placed on them. They centralize power up and away from the American people to supranational treaties and organizations, to left-wing experts. The right wing also has its own experts, especially religious experts, to sight unseen all or nothing legislating, to the unelected career bureaucrats of the administrative state. As monolithic as Lab's institutional power appears to be, it originates with appropriations from the Congress and is made completely by a feckless president. A conservative president must look to the legislative branch for a decisive action. The administrative state is not going anywhere until Congress acts to retrieve its own powerful bureaucrats and the White House. But in the meantime, there are many executive tools a courageous conservative president can use Conservative president can use to handcuff the bureaucracy, push Congress to return its constitutional responsibility to restore power over Washington to the American people, bring the administrative state to heel and in the process of defying and defund the woke culture warriors who have infiltrated every last institution in the America, and replace them with religious extremists. The conservative premise lays out how to use many of these tools, including how to fire supposedly unfireable federal bureaucrats, how to shatter wasteful and corrupt bureaucrats and offices, how to muzzle woke propaganda at every level of government, and how to restore the American people's constitutional authority over the administrative state. They still not told us anything about how the American people would be self-governed, how their power over the government would be bigger. They told nothing about it. And how to save untold taxpayer dollars in the process. Finally, the president can restore public confidence and accountability to our most important government functions of all, national defense. US is spending by far the most on the national defense / war department. Wake the fuck up. The American people desire a military full of highly skilled servicemen. Okay, so you want to make a mandatory army service, I believe. Great. Amazing. Conscription laws, how fantastic. Servicemen and women who can protect the homeland and our interests overseas. What sort of interests overseas do you have, huh? Besides NATO, what are your other interests overseas? You have no right to interfere into the politics of other countries, you know? Of course they think they have, because they are the most powerful country in the world and the most powerful country in the history. Yeah, that gives them the right to interfere with other countries' politics. Like they did with Gaddafi. Or with Saddam Hussein and his alleged nuclear weapons. The next conservative president must end the left social experiment experimentation with the military, restore warfighting as its sole mission, and set defeating the threat of the Chinese Communist Party as its highest priority. So, American people, you are going to get conscription laws. You're going to be conscripted into the military, even if you do not want to serve that crooked country. Isn't it wonderful? The next conservative president must possess the courage to relentlessly put the interests of everyday American over the desires of the ruling elite. The outrage cannot be prevented, it must simply be ignored, and it can be. Oh, yeah. That is simply anti democratic, by the way. Ignore the people who are against you is anti democratic, if you did not know. The left derives its power from the institutions they control, but those institutions are only powerful to the extent that constitutional officers surrender their own legitimate authority to them. A president who refuses to do so and uses his or her office to reimpose constitutional authority over federal policymaking can begin to correct decades of corruption and remove thousands of bureaucrats from the positions of public trust they have so long abused. And we are now at the promise number 3. Tom, do you know this promise was about the people's self-governance? Yeah, me neither. They have not said anything that would even resemble anything to hint how would they achieve that people's self-governance. No, they were talking about a administrative elite or whatever, that they were talking about that Congress is useless or something like that, and they were basically saying more work for the Congress, and the president should be this, president should be that. There was nothing about the people. A blatant clickbait title. I'm gonna take a sip of water now, and we're gonna keep going. This was shorter than I expected, so we can handle one more promise, and afterwards I'm gonna take a pause. Alright. We got a promise number 3. Defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats. I almost read that like the United States belong to white people. Silly with the jokes. The United States belongs to we the people. Who are the people? All government authority derives from the consent of the people, and our nation's success derives from the character of its people. The American people's right to rule ourselves is the observe of our duty. We cannot outsource the other. Our obligation to ensure the conditions that allow our families and local communities, churches and synagogues and neighborhoods to thrive. The buck stops with each of us, so each of us must have the freedom to pursue the good for ourselves and those entrusted to our care. I'm gonna have to go ban somebody, however. Yes, every single one of us should have a freedom to pursue our dreams, to pursue a better life. However, you're not gonna get this under the Republicans, under those elite, not elite, but I mean Radical Christians, yes. Sorry about it, I was just banning 2 people. Scam accounts, as you might imagine. Okay, what is it? Sovereignty, borders, bounty about global threats. However, how does this relate to the sovereignty and borders and about bounty against global threat, I wonder? To most Americans, this is a common sense, but in Washington, D.C. and other centers of leftist power, like the media and the academy, this statement of basic civics is branded hate speech. Progressive elites speak in lofty terms of openness, progress, expertise, cooperation, and globalization. But too often, these terms are just rhetorical Trojan horses concealing their true intention, stripping we the people of our constitutional authority over our country's future. America's corporate and political elites do not believe in the ideals to which our nation is dedicated. Self-governance, you have not talked at all about self-governance, the rule of law, and order to liberty. They certainly do not trust the American people and they disdain the Constitution's restrictions on their ambitions. Once again, you are not talking about the border security, about sovereignty, or about the global threats. Completely irrelevant to the premise. Instead, they believe in a kind of 21st century Wilsonian order in which the enlightened, highly educated managerial elites run things rather than the humble, patriotic working families who make up the majority of what the elites continuously call the fly over the country. Fake. Just look at the, humble, patriotic working families in the Congress. Not many of them, huh? Yeah. Most, if not all people in the Congress have fucking degrees, probably law schools, and more. Neither of these people is a patriotic, humble person. Neither of them. From neither of the party. This is a blatant lie. This Wilsonian hubris has spread like a cancer throughout many of America's largest corporations, its public institutions, and its popular culture. Those who run our so-called American corporations have bent to the will of the woke agenda and care more for their foreign investors and organizations than their American workers and customers. Today, nearly every top-tier US university president or Wall Street hedge fund manager has more in common with a socialist, of course, European head of a state more than with the parents at a high school football game in Waco, Texas. Many elites' entire identity, it seems, is wrapped up in their sense of superiority over those people, but under our constitution, they are the mere equals of the workers who shower after work instead of before. Huh? By the way, we are still not in the sovereignty, the safety of borders, and the global threats, by the way. We are still talking about this. This, as it should be and must be, intellectual sophistication, advanced degrees, financial success, and all other markets of elite status have no bearing on persons' knowledge of one thing most necessary for governance, what it means to live well. That knowledge is available to each of us, no matter how humble our backgrounds or unpretentious our attainments. It is open to us just to read in the book of human nature, to which we are all offered the key by merit of our shared humanity. One of the great premises of American political life is that everyone who can read in that book must have a voice in deciding the course and the fate of our republic. That's a one big, massive, fake lie. Yeah, average Joe having a voice in a Senate or in the Congress. That is a fucking lie. Every single one of them has some sort of a degree. All of them went some sort of a public or private school. Lie. Blatant lie. I wanted to talk about the column before, but I forgot just about what I wanted to talk about. That's unfortunate. Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah, the politicians view you as inferior. They do. However, that's not a one-party problem. Just saying. Progressive policymakers and pundits in America either fail to understand this premise or intentionally rejected. They enthusiastically support supranational organizations like the United Nations and the European Union, which are run and staffed almost entirely by people who share their values and are mostly insulated from influence of national elections. People are elected into the European Parliament. And if you did not notice, the people from the conservative sides had grown a little bit more powerful since the last elections. However, the center left and left still have the majority. So hey, maybe in 5 years, the European Parliament will become conservative, who knows? I'm gonna eat one more comb, then I'm gonna talk more. Progressive policymakers and pundits in America either fail to understand this premise or intentionally reject it. They enthusiastically support supranational organizations like the United Nations and the European Union, which are run and staffed almost entirely by people who share their values and are mostly insulated from the influence of national elections. That's why they are eager for America to sign international treaties on everything from pharmaceutical patents, how do you pronounce it? Patents or patents? I would say patents. To climate change, the rights of the child, and why those treaties are invaluable endorsed policies that could never pass through the US Congress like the progressive Woodrow Wilson's a century ago. The woke left today seeks a world bound by global treaties, they write, in which they exercise dictatorial powers over all nations without being subject to democratic accountability. You ban abortions. You have no right to talk about dictatorships. You are literally one radical Christian dictatorship. And they still not talked about the border security, about the foreign threats, or even about they kind of talked about the US sovereignty in a way, however, not a satisfactory way for me. But I'm gonna give them a pass for that. So we're just gonna say they are not talking about the global threats and the border defense. Whew. Or maybe they are talking about the threats. The European Union and the United Nations are the biggest threats. Who knows what goes in their head. That's why today's progressive left so cavalierly supports the open borders despite the lawless humanitarian crisis that policy created along America's southern border. They seek to purge the very concept of the nation state from the American ethos. No matter how much crime increases or resources drop for schools and hospitals, or wages decrease for the working class, open borders activism is a classic example of what the German theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer called a cheap grace, publicly promoting one's own virtue without risking any personal inconvenience. Indeed, the only direct impact of open borders on pro-open border elites is that the constant flow of illegal immigration suppresses the wages of their housekeepers, landscapers, and busboys. Well, that is up to the state to prevent the inequality in wages. However, as I said, the Republicans and Democrats exchange their places in both Congress and Senate. Like, you should have been able to come up with solution. You even had president who could praise a executive order, although you are now saying that the executive order bad, so I'm gonna probably backpedal from that one. If the border was shut, and if those people have not fled to your country, you know those people, most of them go to work, and the employer pay taxes for them. At least that works in the EU. You work in the EU, your employer pays taxes for you. Your health tax and social tax. And when you add that up, suddenly those migrants provide you with quite a bit of money, actually. Quite a bit. Yeah. Now it doesn't sound like a bad idea. Obviously, the criminality is due to the factor of the incompetence to integrate them into your nation. But that's on you. That's on your local governors, on the local policies. So that is on you if the people don't behave and don't act with respect. Again, talk about the working class. At least they got to the border, so maybe they're gonna say something about this. What they would recommend. At its very heart, environmental extremism is decidedly anti-human. Stewardship and conservation are supplanted by population control and economic aggression. The environmental ideologues would ban the fuels that run almost all the world's cars, planes, factories, farms, and electricity grids. Abandoning confidence in human resilience and creativity in responding to the challenges of the future would raise impediments to the most meaningful human activities. They would stand human affairs on their head regarding human activity itself as fundamental, a threat to be sacrificed to the God of nature. How did we go from border to the climate extremism? Could you please explain it to me? On that note, I'm gonna say in the Fit for 55 or 35 or whatever are a trash policies. Banning is not the way. Period. What they need to do is to reduce those coal factories. They need to move to the nuclear energy and renewable sources as well a bit. There you go. But especially they have to reduce those coal factories. They produce a lot of CO2. However, places like Germany are so much afraid of the nuclear energy, they just got rid of it. Idiots. Let's continue. The same goals are the heart of elite support for economic globalization. For 30 years, America's political, economic, and cultural leaders embrace and enrich Communist China and its G-word Communist Party. While hollowing out American industrial base, what may have started with good intentions has now been made clear. The unfettered trade with China has been catastrophic. No, it has not been. It has made a handful of American corporations enormously profitable while twisting their business incentives away from the American people needs. For a generation, politicians of both parties promised that engagement with Beijing would grow our economy while injecting American values into China. The opposite has happened. American factories have closed, lies, jobs has been outsourced, possible. Our manufacturing economy has been financialized, although when we are talking about outsourced, I think about India and India Google Tech support. Blah, blah, blah. Profiting fail to export our values of human rights and freedom. That is very good. Your values, human rights and freedom should not be imposable on other cultures. That is upon the other cultures to decide if they want to lean more towards democracy and your values, not upon you. Just because you trade a lot of ways with a certain country does not mean that country has to be like you. That is hypocritical and it is a very dangerous way of thinking. Rather, they imported China's anti-American values right into their C-suites. Even before the rise of big tech, Wall Street ignored China's serial theft of American intellectual property. It outright shared the elimination of American manufacturing jobs. Learn to code, they would just code. These were just the price of progress. Engagement was at the best Beijing's project, not America's. The Chinese Communist Party dictated terms only to break them whenever it suited them. They stole our technology, spied on our people, and threatened our allies with trillions of dollars of wealth and military power financed by their access to our market. They are talking like it did not benefit the United States. China was a massive manufacturing power and it still is. Now it's shifting more towards India. And that all that manufacturing in China. I wonder how much the people who were workers there got paid for it, huh? Yeah. You got very cheap goods from China. And eventually you'll be getting very cheap goods from India because they will be in the same situation. And you know what will happen most likely? Both of these countries will become quite anti-American because the politicians, and mainly the people, they will become tired. They will be tired of it. They'll be tired of that exploitation from you. You want cheap goods. However, you're not willing to trade with places like China. No, you are very willing to trade with places that have much lower average income because you're gonna get those products cheaper. That's truth, and that's the only truth. You are talking about China like you propelled it. Yeah, you would have done the same with India, Malaysia, Indonesia, or any other country, and the outcome would very likely be the same. They would realize just how much you have been exploiting them for cheap labor. Every country would turn anti-American if it had been exploited for cheap labor. Wake the fuck up. Then came the rise of the big tech, which is now a less contributor to the US economy than it is to China's government. In exchange for cheap labor and regulatory special treatment from Beijing, America's largest technology firms funnel data about Americans to the CCP. Very funny that the Americans are banning TikTok then. They hand over sensitive intellectual property with military and intelligence application to keep the money rolling in. Also, Chinese phones are banned in the United States. I think phones like Xiaomi are not allowed on the American soil to be sold. They let Beijing censor Chinese users on their application. They let the CCP set their corporate policies about mobile apps. I mean, every country can do that. It's just a matter of whether they do so or not. And if they run interference for rival political priorities in Washington, one side of big tech company business model is old-fashioned American competitiveness and world-changing technological innovation, but increasingly That side of these businesses is overshadowed by the area of operation and the lucrative employ of America's most dangerous international enemy. If you want to understand the danger posed by collaboration between big tech and the CCP, look no further than TikTok. The highly addictive video app used by 80 million Americans every month is overwhelmingly popular among teenage girls. I'm not gonna say anything, I'm not gonna joke about this. This would be a low blow for me. Film me is in effect a tool of Chinese espionage. The ties between TikTok and Chinese government are not loose, as they are not coincidental. The same can be observed of many US colleges and universities, though the CCP's Confucius Institutes, Beijing has been just as successful at compromising and co-opting a higher education system as they have been compromising and co-opting corporate America. Yeah, meanwhile you are also collecting your own people's data. So I mean, hey, quite hypocritical, don't you think? I'm gonna take a sip of water. Time passes so quickly, especially when you are on pause. So, I think I'm gonna have to go on toilet. I gotta pee. Yeah, I should have handled it by pause time, but I had something other to do. So I'm just gonna leave you here for like 5 minutes. And by like, I really mean like 5 minutes, not literally 5 minutes. So stay tuned. And we're back. It only took 1 minute. So, without further ado, we can continue with the premises. I think we're gonna have another pause in like 2 or 3 hours. And after that, I'm gonna keep on talking. We'll see for how long. I don't want to hurt my throat too much because we are not even in 10% of the book or this, or in 10% of this masterpiece. So we have to conserve our strength. And we will finish it. I will keep streaming day in, then day out. I'm gonna keep streaming until we finally have it all covered. I'll stream it, I'll cut the videos, I'll publish them, I'll do everything. And I think we'll probably have enough content for like, maybe even for like the half of August maybe. I don't know, we'll see just how much of these promises are there. Considering there has been so many promises up until this point, then we have a lot to take in, a lot of content. And I want to genuinely cover it because I heard a lot of things about this and I want to see for myself. And so far, I'm not disappointed. This is very problematic masterpiece. So, premise 4, secure our God-given individual right to enjoy the blessing of liberty. God-given, of course, God give you. And there's your problem. There's the biggest problem I have with this masterpiece. It is influenced by the religion. Religion and politics are a big no-no for me. I will never ever support you if you even as dare to put any little bit sense of religion into this nonsense, into your politics. If you put even a tiny bit of religion, well, not. If you put even a tiny bit of religion into your politics, then you're done. You're done for me. You serve the people and the people only. And you're doing everything in your powers to make them feel even better. For them to be even in better conditions than they were when you took over. The first... The Declaration of Independence famously asserted the belief of America's founders that all men are created equal. I want you to pay close attention to the men with E, not A. Yeah, men, not women. And endowed with God-given rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's the last, the pursuit of happiness, that is central to America's heroic experiment in self-government. When the founders spoke of pursuit of happiness, what they meant might be understood today as in a sense of pursuit of blessedness. What? That is, an individual must be free to live as his creator ordained, to flourish. Surely. Our Constitution grants each of us liberty to do not what we want, but what we ought. Okay, so we cannot do what we want. No, we have to do as some guy once a long while ago willed. Yeah, that's what these are the God's words that guy willed in a book called Bible. Yeah, you have to do by those words. Not you cannot do what you want. No, that would be democratic. No, you have to do as God bids. Fucking radicals. This is radical, extremely radical. The pursuit of the good life is found primarily in family, marriage, children, Thanksgiving dinners, and the like. Disagree. Family might give you a happiness, but it is friends, it is people you meet throughout your entire life. It is the relationship you build. It is basically your life. Your life is the happiness. And it depends on both you and your environments, how it shapes out. This naive dream that family brings happiness. Indeed, it does bring happiness. However, will you be able to create a family if you as a person is or are broken? If you are broken beyond the bear, if you are broken, if your experience with the humanity has been poor, to be mild, if you found humanity to not be this creation of God, but rather as a bunch of lunatic monkeys, a bunch of human filth, do you think those people will find happiness in family? Maybe. Most likely not. Thanksgiving dinners, I'm not American, so Thanksgiving dinners are hard pass. Many find happiness throughout their work. Think of dedicated teachers or healthcare professionals, entrepreneurs, of course, or plumbers throwing themselves into their business. Wait, what? Plumbers throwing themselves into entrepreneurs' business. I mean, they would not be doing any worse jobs than they are, however, hey. Anyone who sees a job well done as personal reward, of course. Religious... Yeah, well done. Yeah, the plumbers, the woodcutters are doing a good job. Do you think they would not like to be somewhere in a better position? Yeah, they are doing a good job. However, they cannot advance in the society. No, they will remain woodcutters and plumbers. Maybe they will be the master plumber or master woodcutter. But that's about it. Maybe they're gonna pass that master woodcutter onto their children, therefore they will create a dynasty, and we're gonna have corruption once again. Because parents want the best for their children. They don't want their children to start at the bottom, most of them. They want their children to have a better start than they had, and that's correct. You should aim for your children to have a better conditions than you had when you started to work. Oh yeah, there you go. This would breed corruption. As it always does. Around the world. Still others find themselves happy in their local volunteer companies, communities of friends, their neighbors, their civic or charitable work. The American Republic was founded on principles of prioritizing and maximizing individual rights. Disagree. Disagree. Very disagree. They did not put women there, for fuck's sake. That goes directly against the individual rights. Unless you think women are not human or they are not people, they are not individuals. Rights to live their best life or to enjoy what the famous call the blessings of liberty. It's this radical equality, liberty for all, not just of rights for the authority. Not just rights, but of authority, that the rich and powerful have hated about democracy in America since 1776. No. Radical equality, yeah. So radical that the women were not allowed to vote, they were not allowed to leave their house for like 200 more years. That's a hyperbole, although not that large. They resent Americans' audacity in insisting that we don't need them to tell us how to live. It's this inalienable right of self-direction, of each person's opportunity to direct himself or herself and his or her community to the good that the ruling class disdain. With the Declaration of Constitution and Constitution, our nation's founders handed to us the means with which we preserve this right. Abraham Lincoln built on Declaration as an apple of gold in silver frames, the Constitution. So must the next conservative president look to these documents when the elites mount their assault on liberty. Left to our own devices, the American people rejected European monarchy and colonialism, just as we rejected slavery and second-class citizenship for women, mercantilism, socialism, Wilsonian globalism, fascism, communism, and today wokeism. To the left, these assertions of patriotic self-assurances are just so many signs of our moral depravity and intellectual inferiority, proof of that, in fact, we need a ruling elite making decisions for us. And you are part of that ruling elite, by the way. But the next conservative president should be proud, not ashamed of Americans' unique culture or social equality and order to liberty. Basically, they are saying that the president should be not ashamed of exploiting his own people for the profit of the little percentage of the people at the top. The exact same they are doing up until this day, up until now. Hello, I'm doing good. I'm reading quite a long book or manifesto. How are you? How are you? Ouch, my throat. But the next conservative president should be proud, not ashamed of Americans. PSS's reaction read that. After all, the countries where the Marxist elites have won political and economic power are all weaker, poorer, and less free for it. Yeah. The United States remain the most innovative and upwardly mobile society in the world. Government should stop trying to substitute its own preferences for those of the people, and the next conservative president should champion the dynamic genius of free enterprise against the grim miseries of elite-directed socialism. I'm happy to hear that. The premise of socialism, communism, Marxism, progressivism, fascism, whatever the name it chooses, is simple. Government control of the economy can ensure equal outcome for all people. The problem is that it has never done so. Neither will your ideas. There is no such thing as the government. There are just people who work for the government. No, there are just people who work for the rich who exploit them and enrich themselves upon their hard work, who at almost every opportunity wield it to serve themselves first and everyone else is a distant second. This is not a failing of a one nation or socialist party, but inherent in human nation. Yep, he was very close to death, like 1 inch or like 1 or 2 centimeters. It was very lucky that he actually turned his head towards the teleprompter. Otherwise, this could have been very, very dangerous times we would go into. I don't want to imagine what could possibly happen afterwards he would actually if he would die. Nighttime satellite images of the Korean Peninsula famously show the free market south lit up with homes, businesses, and cities electrified from coast to coast. By contrast, communist North Korea is almost completely dark, except for the small dot of the capital city, Pyongyang, where a psychotic dictator and his cronies live. The same phenomenon is on display in the infuriating fact that 4 of the 6 richest counties in the United States are suburbs of Washington, D.C., a city infamous for its lack of native productive industries. He will not be the first person who got killed, obviously not. However, considering just how much hardline supporters he had, it would probably cause a lot of chaos in the United States, at least. And there we go, we compare North South Korea. Oh yeah, are you seriously going to compare South Korea? Yeah, South Korea is doing much better economically. However, it is not doing much good in one fact. Reproduction rates. Its reproduction rates are completely abysmal. They're gonna go pretty much their entire population, their economic is going to collapse if they do not fix it. And fix it like very soon, because I mean, once their population starts declining, they're gonna have 2 options, or maybe no, 3 options. First, do a mandatory law that would force women to have children. The second is to invite migrants to their country or import migrants to their country so their economy would still keep going, or third, just do nothing about it. Whatever they choose is up in the air. However, from what I heard, their current government is also not the most popular, so I mean, government-wise, they're also not doing any good. It would seem so. So I mean, yeah. North Korea, we all know what North Korea is, what sort of country it is. There's no need to introduce it. Though it's very silly to compare these countries because both of these countries have massive issues. Oh, however, those issues are quite different from each other. North Korea has a massive issue with a dictator that imposes an iron fist upon his people. Very, very hard iron fist. And the South has problems with its reproduction. It has problems with even sustaining their nation in the future. We see the same corruption expressed of an individual level whenever billionaire climate activists who want to outlaw carbon fuel transportation fly to a list of conferences on their private jets. Indeed, that is something I will agree on. That is very hypocritical. Or when COVID-19 shut down, politicians like the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and California Governor Gavin Newsom were caught at the hair salon or dining at fancy restaurants after moralizing about how everyone else must stay at home and forgo such luxuries during the pandemic. Yes, that even happened in my country when when our head of the health department was caught having a party or was dining with other people in a restaurant after like 11 p.m. trying to mask it from the journalist. However, he was caught and he resigned. Unfortunately, this idiot is still trying to influence the health politics of our current government, and that is something I cannot get behind at all. For socialists who are almost always about to do, socialism is not a means of equalizing outcome, but the means of accumulating power. They never get around to helping anyone else, well, you will also never get around to help anyone else. You will be a simple Christian dictatorship, and that's a fact. You want power. The Christian radicals in your party want power. They want to impose their radicalism upon the entirety of the United States. The Soviet Empire was a social and economic failure. North Korea, despite the opulence of its tyrants, is one of the poorest countries in the world. Cuba is so corrupt that its people regularly risk their lives to escape to Florida on rafts. Wasn't Cuba pretty much embargoed by the entire world though? Yeah, most likely it was, because United States have tried numerously to kill the Fidel Castro. They never managed to, however, it does not change anything that they probably did not trade with Cuba, and they probably forced a lot of countries to not to do so as well. So no wonder they lived there in poor conditions. And suddenly they are not talking so bad about immigrants. That's very funny that they are suddenly when it suits them, they will not talk poorly of immigrants. Suddenly, oh yeah, the people from Cuba is so corrupt that people regularly risk their lives to escape to Florida on rafts. And suddenly they do not call them illegal immigrants. How interesting, don't you think? Venezuela was once the richest nation in South America. Today, a decade after a Marxist dictator took over, 94% of Venezuelans live in poverty. Even Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders, home state of Vermont, was forced to repeal the state's single-payer health care system just 3 years after creating it. In every case, socialist elites promised that if only they could direct the economy and everything would be better. Very quickly, everything got worse in socialist nation after socialist nation. The only way the government could keep up its disgruntled people in line was to surveil and terrorize them. And you would do the exact same. For God's sake, you would even ban pornography. Like, obviously, they would start surveilling people to actually make sure that people actually stopped watching it. By contrast, in countries with a high degree of economic freedom, elites are not in charge because everyone is in charge. And what countries, as example, because you've been talking about the United Nations very negatively, you've been talking about the EU very negatively, you've somewhat indirectly said they are a global threat to you. They're global elites that are trying to influence everything. So, like, which countries are we talking about? Oh, please share. Because it will definitely not be Saudi Arabia. It will not be China. India, definitely not. South Africa, no. Brazil, no. So, like, who? Canada? I think they do not like Justin Trudeau. I mean, not many people like Justin Trudeau to begin with, but hey. People work, build, invest, save, and create according to their own interests and in service to the common good of their fellow citizens. No, they do that in common good of their owners, to the rich elites. There will always be someone who will profit of your hard work in capitalism. There is a reason why the private economy used to the maxim the customer is always right, while government bureaucracies are notoriously user-unfriendly. Just as there is reason why private charities are cheerful and the government welfare systems are not. It's not because grocery store clerks and PTA moms are good and federal bureaucrats are bad, it's because private enterprises, for profit or non-profit, must cooperate to give to succeed. So as the American people take back their sovereignty, constitutional authorities, respect for their families and communities, they should also take back their right to pursue the good life. The next president should promote pro-growth economic policies that spur new jobs and investment, higher wages and productivity. Yes, that agenda should include overdue tax and regulatory reform, but it should go further and include antitrust enforcement against corporate monopolies. It should promote educational opportunities outside the woke-dominated system of public schools and universities, including trade schools, apprenticeship programs, and student loan alternatives that fund students' dreams instead of Marxist academics. Just as important as expanding opportunities for workers and small businesses, the next president should crack down on the crony capitalist corruption that enables America's largest corporations to profit through political influence rather than competitive enterprise and customer satisfaction. Two questions. Where are you gonna find people for it? And the second, where are you gonna find money for this? And also, why are you trash talking capitalism? Isn't it the best economic system we have, according to you, according to your influences? Like, I'm starting to feel that, yeah, this is a problem when you have 400 people working on this. Like, you will be asking, okay, why the sudden change of, color? Like, why the sudden change of tone? Like, you've been trash talking socialists, Marxists, woke, liberals, Chinese, and everything. Then suddenly you start trash talking capitalism as well. So, what is it that you want? Christian dictatorship, yes, but what do you want as an economic system? Like, I don't understand this. This is starting to get very confusing. Well, this has been very confusing for a while now, ever since I started reading, but hey. Analogous pro-growth reforms for America's voluntary civil societies are also in order. America is not an economy, it is a country. Economic freedom is not the only important freedom of religion. There is freedom of religion in the United States. So I'm not sure what are you talking about. Freedom of speech. There is a freedom of speech in America. I've published about 100 videos and YouTube had not struck any of them. and you can talk freely. Well, usually in the communities that share the same thoughts, however, that has always been the case. Like, don't try to pretend that you would not get your ass beat if you went to the Republican majority South and started to talk about transgenderism and stuff like that. Obviously, you would get your ass hooked as well. I mean, and you can tell pretty much anything you want as long as it's within a reason of as long as it's within a reason, I guess. Like, as long as you don't say something stupid or something very radical. Which there sometimes it goes very close to the edges, and people do not like that. So, and the freedom to assemble also represent key components of the American premise. Today, in addition to the problem of big tech censorship, we see speakers at the university shouted down, parents investigated and arrested for attempting to speak at school board meetings, and donors to conservatives' causes harassed and intimidated. That same happens on the other side. So I don't know what you... I mean, I understand your concerns, however, this happens on the other side as well. You'd be very naive to believe this is only happening to you. The next conservative president must defend our First Amendment rights. Best effort. Ultimately, the left does not believe that all men are created equal. I mean, all the men are not created equal. Some are born with some, issues, or they're born with difficulties. Some grow out to be strong, some grow out to be fast, some grow out to be smart. Men are not born equal. And I mean men with A, not E. We are all different. We are all different humans. Like, no one is, what's the word? No one is the same as other. Everybody is unique in its own way. They think they are special. They certainly don't think all people have unalienable right to pursue the good life. They think only they themselves have such a right, along with more responsibility to make decisions for everyone else. They don't think any citizen, state, business, church, or charity should be allowed any freedom until they bend the knee. Well, you think the same way, don't you? You just said it's bad that the people are rejecting the church. Like, that's not bad. Like, that's the people's choice whether they want to be religious or not. This book, this agenda, the entire Project 2025 is a plan to unite the conservative movement and the American people against elite rule and woke culture warriors. Our movement has not been united in recent years, and our country has paid the price. In the last decade, though, the breakdown of the family and the rise toward China, the Great Awakening, big tech abuses, and erosion of constitutional accountability in Washington have rendered these divisions not just inconvenient but politically suicidal. Every hour the left directs federal policy and elite institutions, our sovereignty, our constitution, our families, and our freedom are a step closer to disappearing. The conservatives have just 2 years and 1 shot to get it right. With enemies at home and abroad, there is no margin for error. Time is running short. If we fail, the fight for the very idea of America may be lost. There we go, there is the fear-mongering. But we should take this small window of opportunity to have left to act with courage, confidence, and not despair. The last time our nation and movement were so near defeat, we rallied together behind the great leaders and great ideas. They transcended our differences, rescued our nation, and changed the world. It's time to do it again. Now, as then we know who we are fighting and what we are fighting for our republic, our freedom, and for each other. The next conservative president will enter office on January 20th, 2025 with a simple choice, greatness or failure. It will be a daunting test, but no more than so than every generation of Americans have faced and passed. The conservative promise represents the best effort of the conservative movement in 2023 and the next conservative president's last opportunity to save our republic. And we got endnotes. Section 1, taking the reins of the government. I'm gonna take a sip of water. And we'll be able to continue right away. Okay. So that thing before was a prelude. It was just saying what they fight for, what they want, and well, you could make your own opinion about it. Now we are gonna go to the main core. The main course that's about 800 and something pages long. Oof. Section 1, taking the reins of the government. America's bicentennial, which culminated on July 4th, 1976, was a spirited and unifying celebration of our country. Sorry about that. Its founding and its ideals as we approach our nation's 250th anniversary, which will take place during the next presidency. America is now divided between two opposing forces: woke revolutionaries and those who believe in the ideals of American Revolution. The former believe that America is and always has been systematically racist. It kinda is. And that it is not worth celebrating and must be fundamentally transformed, largely to a centralized administrative state. The latter believe in America's history and heroes, its principles and promise, and in everyday Americans and American way of life. They believe in the Constitution and Republican government. Conservatives, the Americanists in this battle, must fight for the soul of America, which is very much at stake. Just 2 years after the death of last surviving Constitutional Convention delegate, James Madison, Abraham Lincoln warned that the greatest threat to America would come not from without, but from within. This is evident today, whether it be mask and vaccine mandates, so here we go, school and business closures, efforts to keep Americans from driving gas cars or using gas stoves, or efforts to defund the police, indoctrinate school children, alter beloved books, abridge free speech, undermine the core brand ideal or deny the biological reality that there are only two sexes. The left's steady stream of insanity appears to be never ending. About the defunding police, that is anarchism. Those were people with anarchist beliefs, and that's the fault of the people who were ruling, or people who were actually in control of those districts and streets, that they allowed it to happen, to actually something like the autonomous zones in Washington or Oregon or wherever it was. Anarchism is bad. The next administration must stand up for American ideals, American families, and American culture, all things in which, thankfully, most Americans still believe. Highlighting this need, former director of the Office, Management and Budget, Ras Watt, okay, writes in Chapter 2, the modern conservative president's task is to limit, control, and direct the executive branch on behalf of the American people. At the core of its goal is the work of the White House and the center personal agencies. Article 2 of the Constitution vests all federal executive powers in president, made accountable to the citizenry throughout regular elections. Our founders will, the executive powers shall be vested in a president of the United States of America. Accordingly, Watt writes, it is the president's agenda that should matter to the departments and agencies, not their own. And that's why the president has the executive orders. Yet the federal bureaucracy has a mind of its own. I'm just gonna check something real quick. It is good. Federal employees are often ideologically aligned, not with the majority of the American people, but with one another, posing a profound problem for a Republican government, a government of, by, and for people. As Donald Devine, Dennis Kirk, and Paul Duns write in Chapter 3, an autonomous bureaucracy has neither independent constitutional status nor separate moral legitimacy. Byzantine personal rules provide the bureaucrats with their chief means of self-protection. Why are we suddenly talking about the Byzantine Empire? What's more, knowledge of such rules is used to thwart the president's appointees and agenda. As Devine, Kirk, and Dance write, managing the immense bureaucracy of the federal government is impossible without an understanding of the key center personal agencies and their governing laws and regulations. Many of these laws and regulations governing a largely underworked and overcompensated or unaccountable federal civilian workforce are so irrational that they would be comical in less important contexts. This is true whether it comes to evaluating employees' performance or hiring new employees. Only in the federal government could be an applicant in the hiring process be sent to the front of the line because of a history of drug addiction or alcoholism, or due to morbid obesity, irritable bowel syndrome, or psychiatric disorder. The next administration should insist that the federal government's hiring, evaluation, retention, and compensation practices benefit taxpayers rather than benefiting the lowest rank of the federal workforce. I would like to hear some instances of those deranged workers in the federal agencies and stuff like that. I know there are some degenerate, or there used to be degenerate people in Biden administration. Although I would also like to hear about some, concrete examples of those deranged workers in federal agencies and stuff like that, federal workforce. In order to carry out the president's desires, political appointees must be given the tools, knowledge, and support to overcome the federal government's obstructionist human resources department, More fundamental, the new administration must fill its ranks with political appointees. Great. The Wienkirk and Dance observed that Trump administration appointed fewer political appointees in its few months in the office than any other recent presidency. This left career employees in charge in many places. This can occur even after departments have been fully staffed with political appointees. VOD writes that the White House Office of Management and Budget should establish a reputation as keeper of commanders' intent. Yet OMB is dominant by career employees who often try to overrule political appointees, serving them in various executive departments. Empowering political appointees around the administration is crucial to a president's success. I mean, yes, career politicians usually reach high places. That's kinda given. That's nothing new. And what is political appointee? Oh yes, I think like the political appointee means his or hers guys. Just the people that are loyal to the president. Yeah, that's what they mean. They basically want people that are appointed to be loyal to the president and to the party, I suppose. Above all, the president and those who serve under him or her must be committed to the Constitution and the rule of law. This is particularly true of a conservative administration, which knows that the president is there to uphold the Constitution, not the other way around. If a conservative administration does not respect the Constitution, no administration will. In Chapter 1, former Deputy Chief Staff to President Rick Dearborn write that the White House Counsel must take seriously the duty to protect the powers and privileges of the President from encroachment by Congress, the judiciary, and the administrative components, departments, and agencies. Equally important, the President must enforce the Constitution and laws as written, rather than proclaiming new laws unilaterally. President should not issue mask or vaccine mandates, arbitrarily transfer student loan debts, or issue monarchical mandates of any sort. The legislature make the laws in a republic, not executive. Not issue mask or vaccine mandates. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Just don't get any vaccines and die. Thanks. COVID may have not been that severe as people made it out to be. However, it varied from instances. It varied from cases. Somebody did not even notice. Somebody never caught COVID. However, there were people who had quite a difficult COVID, illness, and there were people who had very severe COVID illness. People who actually had fevers and they were not feeling well at all. One such case is my mother. So yeah, I will definitely be much more sensitive towards it. Fucking get vaccinated. I mean, this time you got lucky it was COVID. The next time, when it's going to be an actual deadly disease, yeah, your population is going to get decimated. It is crucial that all three branches of the federal government respect what medicine called the double security to our liberties, the separation of powers among the three branches, and the separation of powers between the federal government and the states. This double security have been greatly compromised over the years. VOD writes that the modern executive branch writes federal policy, enforces that policy, and often adjudicates whether that policy was properly drafted and enforced. He described this as constitutionally dire and in urgent need of repair, adding nothing less than the survival of self-governance in America is at stake. When it comes to ensuring that freedom can flourish, nothing is more important than deconstructing the centralized administrative state. You are repeating yourself, political appointees who are answerable to the president and have decision-making authorities in the executive branch are the key to this essential task. The next administration must not cede such authority to non-partisan experts who pursue their own ends while engaging in groupthink insulated from American voters. So basically they want the administration to be run by their own people, by the people who are approved by the party and who serve the party. Yes, definitely not dystopian. Following chapters detail how the next administration can be responsive to the American people, not to entrenched elites, how it can take care of all the laws that are faithfully executed, not merely those that the president desires to see executed, and how it can achieve results not to be stymied by unelected bureaucrats. So this was, okay, we are on page 55. What was this called again? Yeah, taking the reins of government. Okay, this was quite short. I'm gonna take a sip of water yet again. We have to keep our throats wet. Okay, we can continue. White House office Rick Dearborn. From popular culture to academia, the American presidency has long been a prominent figure of the national imagination. Naturally so, since it is the beating heart of our nation's power and prestige. It has played, for instance, a featured role in innumerable movies and television shows. It has been parodied, analyzed, and critiqued by countless books and essays and studies. But like near everything else in life, there is no substitute of first-hand experience, which this has manual compared from the experience of the presidential appointee and provides in accessible form for future use. With respect to the presidency, it is best to begin with our Republic foundational document. The Constitution gives the executive power to the president. It designates him as commander-in-chief, and it gives him the responsibility to take care that the laws are faithfully executed. It further prescribes that the president might seek the assistance of the principal officer in each of the executive departments, beginning with George Washington. Every president has been supported by some sort of White House office consisting of direct support staff officers as supported by some form of White House, as well as as well as cabinet comprised of department and agency heads. Since the inaugural administration of the late 18th century, citizens have chosen to devote both their time and their talent to defending and strengthening our nations by serving as the pleasure of the president. Their shared patriotic endeavor, proven to be a noble one, not least because the jobs in what is now known as the White House office, who are among the most demanding in all government. The president must rely on the men and women appointed to the WHO. There are simply not enough hours in the day to manage the affairs of state single-handedly. So delegation is not just advisable, it is essential. The decisions that assistants and senior advisors make will directly impact the administration, its legacy, and most important, the fate of our country. Their agenda must therefore be the president's agenda. Choosing who will carry out that agenda on a daily basis is not only one of the first decisions a president makes in the office, but also one of the most critical. The tone and tempo of an administration are often determined on January 20th. I disagree. There should be some people that should be able to talk back to the president and counter some of his ideas. Because if you have only yes man, it's not going to end well. You're basically saying you want a dictatorship. Basically, dictatorship with advisors who are yes men for the president. Ouch, I have to. My neck is cracking a bit. Okay. Chief of Staff, as with most of the positions that will be covered in this first chapter, the Chief of Staff is also an assistant to the President. However, the Chief is truly first among equals. Of all presidential staff members, the Chief is most critical to implementation of President's vision for the country. The Chief also has a dual role as a manager of the staffs of both the WHO and the Executive Office of the President. The Chief of Staff's first managerial task is to establish an organization chart for the WHO. It should be simple and contain clear lines of authority and responsibility to avoid conflicts. It should also identify specific points of contact for each element of the government outside of the White House. These contacts should include the White House, liaisons. That sounds wrong. Liaisons. I don't know. Liaisons who are selected by the Office of Presidential Personnel. Receiving guidance from the President, the Chief endeavors to implement the President's agenda by setting priorities for the WHO. This process begins by taking the stock of the President's campaign promises, identifying the current and prospective opportunities, and then delegating policy priorities among the departments and agencies of the Cabinet throughout the 3 White House policy councils, which are the National Economic Council, the Domestic Policy Council, and the National Security Council. If you are going to tell me that they will be talking about all these positions and what their job is in the government, I'm going to be very pissed off because this is going to be just wasting mine and your time. The President is briefed on all his policy priorities by his cabinet and senior staff as directed by the Chief. The Chief, along with his senior WHO staff, maps out the issues and themes will be covered daily and weekly. The Chief then works with the policy councils and the cabinet and the Office of Communications and Office of Legislative Affairs to sequence and execute the rollout of policies and announcements. The White House Council and senior advisors and senior counsels are also intimately involved. I prefer not to see Monica Lewinsky, but hey, whatever. It is your vision. All senior staff report to the Chief of Staff, either directly or throughout his 2 or 3 deputies, unless President determines that a particular assistant to the President reports directly to him. Most chiefs has interacted directly with cabinet officers and served a number of direct reports. In most cases, the direct reports to the chief are his 2 or 3 deputies, communications director, PPO director, White House counsel, and senior advisors. Occasionally, the Office of Public Relations reaction, I don't know how you do pronounce it, reaction, let's pronounce it like this, the cabinet secretary and intergovernmental affairs, and report directly to the chief. Usually, however, they report instead to a deputy chief of staff. The chief of staff's main challenge is his time management, his use of his deputies meeting with the senior staff, and direction provided to the WHO must all balance with the daily needs of the president. The successful chief steers the best wing using his management and influence with various individuals and entities around him. It goes without saying that selecting the right person to be the chief is vital. So we spent so many columns, so many sentences just telling me what this chief is going to do. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I do not. You've just wasted my time. Seriously. Alright, since you wasted my time, I'm gonna waste my chat's time. I'm gonna go and be on it. Okay, I'm not gonna go anywhere. My phone is only at 34% and I would not be able to see chat. So we're gonna finish this and afterwards we're gonna get one more, or maybe one sorry, yeah, one more, or maybe one of two pauses. So let's continue. Like, I cannot tell you anything to this. Like, this is just what these people should be doing. They're like, what is going to be their job? I'm not even sure why this is included. Like 900 pages and you still include this bullshit. Oh well, we're gonna read it regardless. I know some people are not going to be particularly excited with stuff like this. However, I'm gonna make a warning. Yeah, I'm gonna make a warning for this. And say this episode is going to be boring, and so that they should skip it if they don't want to see me read what all of these people are going to do. Deputy chiefs of staff. In recent years, presidents typically have appointed 2 deputy chiefs of staff, and deputy chief of staff for management and operations, and deputy chief of staff for policy. There also have been other types of deputy chiefs whose role have included, for example, overseeing strategy, planning, and implementation. Chiefs of staff have then occasionally appointed a principal deputy chief to be in charge of guiding decision-making, organizational structure, and information flow. Principal deputy chiefs of staff. Not all chiefs of staff have tapped the principal deputy. A major reason is that doing so adds another layer of command and complexity. When principal deputies have been installed, their roles have based on the needs of particular chiefs. Most principal deputies have functioned as doorkeepers, sorting throughout action items, taking on those that can be handled at their own level, and passing up orders that do require the attention of the chief of staff or the president. Principal deputies have also assumed control of scheduling functions, normally under operations deputy, and have worked directly with the policy councils at the direction of the chief of staff, the OPL, and Office of Political Affairs. Also have reported to a principal deputy chief of staff for management and operations. The deputy chief of staff and management and operations oversees president's schedules and all logistical aspects of his movement within and outside of the White House. For example, both Air Force One and Marine One and ground transportation. This deputy also interfaces directly with the secret services as well as military officers, tasked with keeping the president and his family safe. In the past, this deputy has worked with the NSC, the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, and the intelligence community on advancing all foreign trips. If their roles are separated from that of the policy deputy, this deputy should have a strong grasp on the international affair and robust foreign policy credentials. This deputy further manages all facets of the working White House: technology, ground management, support staff, personnel, administration, and communications. This individual therefore needs to be meticulous and ideally should possess a great deal of command and control experience. Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy in some administration, the functions of the IGA, OPA, and OPL, and other advisors within the WHO have fallen under the Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. For conservatives, this arrangement could help to connect the WHO's reach to political and external groups and be a strong conduit for state and local elected officials, state parties, and both grassroots and grassroots organizations. This deputy chief works directly with the chief of staff, cabinet officers, and all three policy councils to support the development and implementation of the president's agenda. This deputy chief should therefore have impressive policy credentials in the realms of economic, domestic, and social affairs. So basically, you want a career politician there. Sorry, I had to scratch my back. Senior advisors, presidents have surrounding themselves with senior advisors whose experience and interests are not necessarily neatly defined. In recent administration, senior advisors have been appointed to offer broad guidance on political matters and communication issues. Others have acted as stars for specific projects and policy areas. The most powerful senior advisors frequently have had a long personal relationship with the president and often have spent a significant amount of time with him. Within and outside of the White House, they have been asked not only to provide guidance on a variety of policy issues, but also offer instruction on communicating with the American people and the media. In a number of administrations, new offices or councils have been created and support senior advisors. For the most part, the functions have been duplicative or overlapping, as a result of which these offices have tended to be short-lived. Even so, senior advisors should be provided the staff and resources that their portfolio require. To ensure that senior advisors are effective, their portfolios must be clearly delineated and clearly communicated across the White House. This too is a responsibility of the Chief of the Staff. I want to break free. I want to break free. I want to break free from all of this bullshit. And it still keeps going. It still keeps going. Oh my god. Oh my fucking god. Oh my god. What the fuck? Bro, we're gonna be here for a long while. Like, I don't think I'll be able to finish this in under 8 hours. Okay, this is going to take a while. I'm gonna take a sip of juice for this. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna check just by eye what they are talking about in the other. Because if they are telling me just what these people should do, which we already know, well, I do not know, neither do you. However, nobody of us cares. And I'm not going to be reading like 12 fucking pages. I'm not going to be reading 12 fucking pages of this bullshit. Sorry, I simply won't be. I won't enjoy it, neither will you. So if this is... Yeah, like they're just... Yeah, this is nothing. Like, this is just them wasting our time, like... So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna skip these pages, because like... Oh, it updated, so now it's 39 of 880, so nice. Like, I'm not going to be rated this bullshit. Like, there's literally nobody on this planet that would listen to it. And neither me. Like, I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna post it all the way until I realize it is just like 20 pages of complete bullshit, and then then I'm gonna cut it, and we're gonna move to this on other video, because I mean, I'm not gonna be wasting your time. Like, I'm sorry, I won't be. We already heard some of the radical ideas, so that's good. However, if this persists, then I'm gonna be skipping even more, because I simply do not want to waste your time. And the fact that they put this, like, they put that what every fucking person in the US office does. Like, thank you, nobody gives a shit. We can Google it, you know. Just wasting our times. And they do that. I think they do this intentionally. After what we read, I think they're gonna definitely go full bonkers afterwards. Because I mean, this is. I'm gonna go and take a week. I'll be right back. I'm gonna open this in another window as well. I just want to see exactly the contents. I already forgot them. So. Yes, we are here, but I want to be here. So let's just read. Let's see the contents. Taking the reins of the government, that's... So yeah, we did this, the Department of Defense, Homeland Security. So basically now they're just going to tell me of everything that the people should do. Like, every positions in the government and the people, what they should be doing there. So basically this is completely that's worthless. This is worthless. The general welfare, the general welfare is also worthless. So basically they're going to tell us everything about the... I'm gonna... Oh, I'm gonna ban somebody. Give me a moment. Keep yours with anime. For first time. There we go. So you're telling me that all of this, like, this one massive document can be oversimplified to like only few videos. Interesting. Hmm. Okay. This changes things. Not that I mind. Like, I thought I would have to eat like all of this. However, it seems like I won't have to. I mean, I don't mind. I don't mind at all. Like, it would be a big journey. However, I'm gonna reach to the Onward by Edwin J. Fowler. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, GDP per capita, and yes, and this is what average American earns, 60 grand per year. I would like to see that. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, I don't know. Okay, the case of Rita, the conservative vision for the day. Okay, so we're gonna probably read about the. We're gonna read about the economy. Because, I mean, I saw it. Just saw that. They basically were telling. I mean, it is possible that they're gonna input some of their own, which is very likely they did. However, I simply do not want to waste your time by reading all of that. Like, the purpose of that thingy there was to pour you out. However, something like economy, I'm definitely gonna read about. Hmm. Oh, they are putting here challenges, I see. Why are you doing this way? Bro, this is so unintuitive, bro. I bleh when I see this. Bro, this is... Okay, there's a lot of data. Trade deficit reductions for target countries. Okay, so they basically want to introduce tariffs and they think that the other countries will not do anything about it. Oh yeah, introduce tariffs on India, I dare you. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure, mate, sure. So it seems they're talking more about the economy and stuff like that. They have... Oh yeah, you can see just how much they're sourcing this now that they will be... Jesus, someone says. Apologies for being so quiet, but I'm just going to this. Okay, it seems they are now giving once again their opinions. Okay, then we have something to look forward. I'm gonna probably go through this document. Maybe I'm gonna look it up like 10 minutes before we start the stream again, but I'm gonna find the next point where they're gonna start talking once again about the agendas, and then we're gonna read it, because I mean, this is first up, they go all rowdy and shit, then they just tell us does the government positions near the president do, which is which I simply do not really adore. So yeah, that's about it. Yep, this is it. I'm not gonna be reading this any further now, and we're gonna. Is there anything interesting happening? Let's check the ground news, and if not, then we're gonna end the stream. We've been talking for a bit. Okay, I mean, we could talk about it. Didn't sleep at all after Trump assassination attempt. Huh? How is that even news, Bill? New anti-aging therapy extends life of mice by 25%. Okay. We read that. Oh, the Koreans will be building the nuclear reactors. Interesting. Well, it was about time they got finally conscripted these fucking. I don't even wanna say it. But they are fucking pieces of shit, these people. They want war, however, they don't want to fight. Hypocrites. Oh, really? Okay, we can read about this. Mm. Okay, we're gonna read probably both and detail, and then we're gonna end this, because I will definitely want to make a video about this. So, the final article, and then we're gonna go. Kinda tired. And I'm also angry. Now I'm gonna have to search the document to see where the agenda starts crawling out of the ground. So, we got Andrew Tate banned from leaving Romania after court overturned ruling that allowed him to travel within EU. Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan were charged in June 2023 with avoiding human trafficking and forming a criminal gang to sexually exploit women. Two Romanian female suspects also face charges as part of the case and all four denied the allegations. Controversial social media Andrew Tate. Social media influencer Andrew Tate will not be able to leave Romania while he prepares to stand trial accused of human trafficking. It comes after a court of appeal in the capital Bucharest overturned an earlier ruling that granted self-proclaimed misogynist and three other suspects, his brother Tristan Tate and two Romanian women, freedom of movement within the European Union. The Tate siblings were charged in June 2023 with avoiding human trafficking and forming a criminal gang to sexually exploit women. The two Romanian suspects also face charges as part of the case, and all four denied the allegations against them. Yes, we've heard that already. What has happened since the brothers were detained? Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate were held in police custody in Romania during the criminal investigation from December 2022 until April 2023 to prevent them from fleeing the country. They were placed under house arrest until last August when courts put them under judicial control, a lighter preventative measure where they were limited to travel within Bucharest and the surrounding Ilfov country. In April this year, a court in the capital ruled that their trial could go ahead. US-born Andrew Tate appealed that decision by the Bucharest tribunal, and pending a ruling on it, the four were banned from leaving EU member Romania. Then earlier this month, the tribunal lifted the restriction, granting the suspects freedom of movement within the EU. Romania's anti-organized crime prosecution agency DEECOT challenged that ruling, and the Bucharest Court of Appeal has now overturned it. The court said it rejects an unfounded and the accused request to replace the obligation to not leave Romanian territory within the obligation of not leaving the European Union. Tate also faces civil cases in UK. In a separate case in May this year, Andrew Tate was served with civil proceedings paper at his home in Romania on behalf of 4 British women. The lawyers for the alleged victims said they were bringing a case against Tate at the High Court in the UK after the Crown Prosecution Service decided not to prosecute in 2019. The 4 women alleged Tate avoided and assaulted them and are seeking damages for injuries they suffered as a result. Tate is accused in the case alongside Tristan. The 3 of the British accusers were the subjects of an investigation by Hertfordshire Constabulary, which was closed in 2019. The siblings will be extradited to the UK following the proceedings in Romania after Bedfordshire police secured a European arrest warrant for future further separate allegations of eye-rolling and human trafficking which date back to 2012 to 2015. A representative for the Tate brothers said they will unequivocally deny all allegations and are fully committed to challenging these accusations with unwavering determination and resolve. Andrew Tate is a former kickboxer and Big Brother contestant who has gained millions of fans by promoting an ultra-masculine lifestyle that critics say denigrates women. Tristan Tate is also a former kickboxer turned social media influencer like his brother. I did not put any of my input because I already talked about them and I don't really want to repeat myself. I just wanted to make this quick with the video because as an update, period. So yeah, like I'm not gonna be talking any much more about this unless there's another update. And as I said my opinion about him. I already made my opinion on him years ago. Well, years ago, like a year or 2 ago. And it's not going to change. So yeah, there you go. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Apologies about that. Project 2025. I did not expect them to do such bullshit and just start saying what all of these positions near the president do or are going to do. Like you would not enjoy it, I would not enjoy it, nobody would enjoy it. I'm gonna take a look on this afterwards after I cool down a bit, and tomorrow we're gonna continue on the notes and hopefully we're gonna read some more of the agenda. Because the beginning was very good content, and afterwards when we got to the first chapter part, I don't know, first arc, then it went downhill quite a bit. It went really boring, so hopefully we're gonna get better value tomorrow. So yeah, hope you enjoyed and I wish you a good day. We're gonna wait a half a minute or a minute before we end the stream. Because Twitch sometimes cuts it.